bada boom. We're good, all right?
Hi.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada boom. Yo. We're in.
The lazy podcast edition, so that we didn't have to set up the actual setup.
No, that's not true.
I know.
It's so that we could like do something different and new for coming back.
That's very true. Kick it off,
Damn,
LV
way to
Pizzle.
undersell it.
Kick it off, LV Pizzle.
Move your chair into the middle more. Look at you. You're just
Listen
chilling
to me.
in the logo.
Listen to me. If we're doing a live podcast, okay?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to bear with me, because this is I can't. You want me to? I can only go. I gotta go where my mic's at. My mic is this way.
Well, pull it over.
Pull it where?
It can't go over anymore.
No, it's stuck. I can't.
It's where you
Listen,
secured it
this
onto
is
your
the
desk.
this is the gaming setup here.
Okay.
You gotta bear with
Alright.
me.
We won't f with the magic over here.
Thank
okay?
you. We just got 6. So.
Dear God, sit up straight, man. I'm only joking. I'm actually not joking. It does bother me. Do you want to show what we're drinking? We
I have
actually
the.
do have coffee.
I just
here,
want you to
people.
know I have the power of the stream here. I will end it. I promise you.
That's fine. You'll have a lot of people annoyed with you, including me. Okay, so we both have a coffee, guys, and hello. Welcome back to 2 Times the Grind. We've missed you very much, and there's nothing really else, we can say about why we haven't been doing it other than honestly life.
Yeah.
Life just gets in the way sometimes. It just is what it is. But we have some new beans to try out. And Jenna and Brad, while we were in Seattle, we actually were gifted this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous bag. Look how pretty this is. Beautiful. It smells amazing as well. Called Ghost Rider. So what a perfect Halloween edition in terms of beans to have on today, considering Happy Halloween. It is Halloween today.
Happy Halloween.
So this is by Proud Mary Coffee Roasters. It is loud, fruity, deep, full spectrum blend. It has 3 gold medals in terms of awards. I don't know where the
pretty crazy.
Coffee Olympics was or when, but
Yeah.
okay. All right, and then it's also the Golden Bean USA Award too. The process was natural, and its notes are milk chocolate, red grape, blueberry, and a syrupy mouthfeel. And this is the wild. So I'm guessing it's a dark roast, but it's the wild. There is mild, curious, and wild, which is a very cute way to say light, medium, and dark roasts. I'm very excited to try it out. I'm going to take my first sip. Have you
It's
already
delicious.
sipped? Oh, of course you have.
It is a delicious cup of coffee.
Oh god, that is actually really good. I did put I did froth up some cream and milk for it, so you get all cozy for Halloween. And I popped in some pumpkin spice as well.
Ooh.
A little touch of Madagascar vanilla. Yeah, so we've kind of really gone for it with this coffee today for Halloween. But yeah, this does taste absolutely incredible. Where to begin, babes? Because it's been a while.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
I always say this, like when we get on the podcast, like it's been a while. This is taking the piss.
Hopefully it's the last time we actually say that, because we've said now, like, it's still, like, there's not really an off season, so for the most part life's still going to be like unbelievably busy, but we feel like the start of Infinite until Worlds, there's just a whole, and your work and stuff you were doing, there's just a whole lot of stuff going on all the time. So I feel like
there's just
I feel
a lot
like
of things going on, like rumors about team changes and just like lots of personal things, and it was just a bit nuts, wasn't it?
family visiting,
Yeah, true. We got to get better at like just plowing through it.
That's true. I do agree. I do agree.
Gazman, look, you got to get that coffee in. It's the thing to start the day. It's like the keys for the car, You can't take trips without coffee. How do you feel about Snipe Down retiring? We've already got some questions coming in.
All right. I mean, we could do questions now. I don't mind. Doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah, we'll just do it. We'll just litter them through the podcast. I think this is going to be the best part about being live, is that we have conversations with the peeps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
very true.
So how do you feel about Snipe Down retiring?
Well, so like I feel like I've talked to my stream now about this a couple times. I feel like obviously like it's sad that he isn't going to be like competing in Halo anymore. the main one coming up is Snipe Down, and then obviously Scump, which we can talk about too. But I feel like there's just a big difference in retirement like nowadays, because like even though you're retiring, like it doesn't mean you're like going away or like you're not going to be seen. Like, you know, Eric is probably streaming more than he probably has all throughout Infinite. He's going to be competing in Apex. Obviously it's still sad he won't be in Halo, but I don't know, does that make sense? Like retiring now just feels like really different to what, like, you got to remember I'm like old, so like retirement for me was like, yo, you're going off to college or going to work or you're starting a family, and the Halo player retiring was like, you're never going to see them again, basically. But yeah, it just, I don't know. So it's sad in terms of a competition front, but I mean, like, I literally have Eric's stream open on another monitor right now. Like, he's not going anywhere per se.
Yeah.
I guess if you're not a fan of Halo, I guess if you're not a fan of Halo, he is going somewhere. He's gone, you know, for the most part.
I do agree with that, because it's like, it's not like they're disappearing from esports and competition entirely. Like, you do see some pros back in the day doing that, because it was like, well, there's not much of a career down any kind of pathway unless they're actually getting into the business side of esports, which lots have, right?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, they're behind the scenes now, so you're not going to see them as much. But you're right, you will still see him around. And I also think that, you know, he's retiring and he's still pretty young, so, you know, in 2 years' time, or even sooner than that, I don't know, a year later, like if things are really looking amazing in Halo, what's to say that he doesn't come back as well? You
or
know
like
I mean?
for
So
Halo BR, you know, their Halo BR is rumored. It's coming out at some point. No one knows. No one knows when he'll be. Yeah, I mean, he's even tweeted about streaming. Forge is coming out on the 8th. It's obviously Halloween today, the 8th of November, and he's even talked about being excited to play like some custom games with subs and stuff like that. So like even that, like he's probably gonna stream some Halo, you know. So yeah, it's just, Joel, I know I'm old, man. I know, you know,
he's not old.
I'm old.
If he's old, then I'm older.
That's true, but
that hurts.
Age is just a number, but I'm old.
Not really, babes. You're not old yet. How's the wedding planning going? It's going kind of at a slow crawl, and it's only because I'm trying to figure out season dates.
Yeah,
that is literally it.
Yeah, it's the hard part with it. Obviously, we can't plan anything out until we know what year 2 is and all that stuff. So it's gone well in terms of like, I mean, we've talked a lot about what we want and what we're doing, and you know, some of the looks and stuff like that. But in terms of like the actual date, we don't have that figured out yet, because we gotta wait.
We do have to wait. Are we dating? We're more than dating. Yeah. We did a thing. How many gifted for a wedding invite? You don't buy your way into a wedding, Zeno.
We'll talk.
We can't be doing that.
We'll talk.
Oh my god. When will we have mac and cheese? Okay. Some of these will probably have to, like, you know, skip. So we stay relevant to our podcast a little bit. Mac and cheese, I'd have mac and cheese any time of the day. Any day. I love mac and cheese. But in terms of like kind of, you know, the bigger pictures of what we're going to talk about in the podcast, it's difficult. It's like, where do we start? Because we haven't even talked about you guys winning KC on the podcast.
Did we not?
No.
Yeah, I think we just crazy. Do we just wrap up the season kind of deal? Just wrap up.
I think we wrap up the season and just kind of talk about a little bit of everything, right? And it's I think it all kind of blends into one another, you know?
Yeah, so. Absolutely.
Hi Trey, happy Halloween. You know, so I think it's been such a strange season for you guys, because obviously a brand new title, and then it's been so up and down, and it wasn't the best of starts. And we talked about that so much on the podcast, because it really was around the time we started the podcast. So it's been difficult, but I think one of my biggest questions for you about KC is like, do you feel like that really was something for you guys to hold on to going into next season? I think if you hadn't won anything, would you be questioning a lot more of what you guys were doing as a team, just in terms of like the overarching picture of what you're trying to achieve, like your strategy, the way you're playing the game, etc.? Do you hold on to something that you were doing something right because you did manage to get that KC win?
Like yes and no. Like I think the meta has changed, and updated a lot, like through KC to Orlando to Worlds, to where like I still think we need to change a lot of our play style in order to be able to beat the top two. Like at Worlds, I feel, and you know, we can get into Worlds a little bit, but I feel like we were literally a top 3 team there. We won't ever know because we didn't play the other teams, but we just weren't good enough to beat Optic and Cloud9. And obviously at the end of the day, that's the goal. That's what you need to do. Winning KC for us, I feel like at least gave us like the confidence that like going into next year, like I know we're good enough to win. I know individually we're good enough to win. I know as a team we're good enough to win. It's just about putting those pieces of the puzzle together. Whereas like if we didn't win and we had just gotten like 4th all year or something like that, obviously like I think it'd be hard to not be sitting there going like, dang, like I don't know, like, you know, maybe we aren't good enough, or, you know, I don't know. But yeah, KC, it's like I think we can go into season 2 knowing that we're one of 3 winners throughout the whole season and knowing we put up a big fight. But I think regardless, strategy wise, a lot has to change. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely something to hold on to for sure, though. I feel like it stopped the season being totally for you guys, and it's not me roasting you, but I know how you feel and obviously your history. I think it stopped the season from being just totally in the bin.
yeah,
because I know for you, like nothing other than first place is really good enough. I think second place, it's like we're nearly there, but you know, when you look at your placements all season, it's been so strange.
yeah. I mean, I definitely agree, but I also feel like what would be the way to explain it? Like, I feel like we've had a tough road all year. Like, Raleigh, we had a sub. Okay, so throw that placing kind of out the window. Anaheim, we had 3 weeks practice because that's when Matt gets unbanned. Okay, throw that placing out the window. Not like out the window, but you know what I mean? Like, take it how it is, you know? And then KC, we win. Orlando, we lose to C9 twice, who got second in the tournament. And then Worlds, we lost to Optic and C9, who got first, second. So, like, throw the season out because placing wise it was just unbelievably terrible, but this year was like really weird in terms of like seedings and brackets and everything, to where there's no offense to other teams, I don't think we were necessarily placed where I think we could have been all year. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
I do also think that it was one of the most competitive seasons I've ever seen in Halo.
Absolutely.
Did that kind of shock you a little bit? I think how like you guys haven't been used to the level of competition, and everyone was so close, and the skill gap was tiny, and it really was a little bit more about how you decide to play the game as a team, rather than like who's amazing at this and who's the best players. Because I feel like everyone can shoot straight, everyone can have great movement, everyone knows how to use a sandbox and all the util and stuff. So do you feel like it was a bit of a shock coming in being like, crap, okay, everyone's so good?
I wouldn't say like so much of a shock as much as like just needing to adapt. You know, H5 was H5, Infinite is Infinite. Infinite overall, I think, is a little bit more on the easier side of individual play. Doesn't mean you don't see a little bit of a skill gap of who those top individual players are, but like, let's be honest, like everyone shoots really well. Everyone knows how to use the mechanics, some better than others, but regardless, like you can watch H5 and watch Infinite and clearly see like a significant difference individually. Way more about team play in this game, and I think that has been a major shift for us, where we don't get to be bailed out by like individual play nearly as much as we probably were like in H5 without even maybe realizing it. You know, like I think we were still buttoned up team-wise in H5, but in this game it's like, you know, if you're not picking up spike nades, like you're behind the curve. And it's like just small stuff like that goes such a long way compared to a game like Halo 5, where I definitely think you were able to like just will your team to win way more through some heads up incredible like individual feats. You know, in this game it's sure. I just don't think you can do that.
I feel like there's so much more to keep track of too in this game, like obviously like bringing in like the repulsor, bringing in like, you know, things that you have to pick up, thrust, you have to pick up the grapple, you have to pick up this and that, like, you know, all of the maps are littered with things to grab and to obviously like aid you in what you're trying to do, obviously. And then you have all the power-ups and the power weapons, the sandbox, everything is so much more grabbable, and there's so much more of it. Like, do you feel like figuring that out and juggling the organization of picking up those things has been something that's been super different, and you guys having to adapt to, okay, one more thing added to the list in terms of priorities.
Yeah, I think that like in Halo 5, you kind of had that in the first year of Halo 5, but people hadn't necessarily like mastered it. Like I think we were really good at picking up like the storm rifle and like some of the stuff on it, but overall it was still a lot of like I think overall it was still a lot of the same stuff in Halo 5, and like, you know, chat can kind of chime in on what you guys think about the weapons and stuff like that, but like you were just picking up your normal stuff in Halo 5 still. It was like, okay, you got to go for the shotgun, you got to go for the sniper, you got to go for the rockets. Like, yeah, there's SMGs and ARs on the map and like a storm rifle, and you need to get those, but like you weren't necessarily like unbelievably punished if you didn't. Whereas in this game, I think because of the easy of use factor of everything, like everything feels so strong to where like if you don't get it, you're punished way more significantly. And I think like if you watched Halo 5 to now, I think that's pretty clear cut on exactly like you said. Like definitely takes some getting, it takes getting used to being punished for not necessarily using everything 100% correct.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And sorry about people who getting ads, etc. It is uncontrollable, I'm afraid. But if you do get ads and you do want to hear back the podcast, it will be on YouTube, so you guys can go back and watch the VOD. Striz, do we have a favorite type of coffee, flavor, or aroma, or do we just drink it for the caffeine? Well, I don't drink it just strictly for the caffeine. I love the taste of coffee. However, because of my love for the taste of coffee, I certainly do feel it if I haven't had one in the morning, if you know what I mean. But I personally love a dark roast. I love something that's really deep. I feel like I can taste the notes so much better when the coffee is a little darker. So yeah, it's definitely for the taste for me. What about you, babe?
I'd say the same. Dark roast all the way. I don't really know why. Like I just like I like a stronger coffee, but I do like having a little bit of like creamer and like maybe some sugar, and most of the time not even, because creamer can be a little bit sugary anyway. But yeah, I don't know why. Like light roast and medium roast just not really my favorite. Like really good, just not my favorite. Dark roast 100%.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I can definitely tell the difference between like a medium and a dark.
Yeah.
Quite easily, for sure. I did just see a question. Why can't I see it now? Hold on. Oh yeah. Does the team chemistry feel different in Infinite than H5, Paige?
In game, yes. Out of game, no. Out of game, I feel like it's all the same. Like I feel like we're great friends and best friends, and like I love hanging out with them. I think hopefully they like hanging out with me. I mean, a lot, you're around us all the time. I literally, and have been since literally 2018. I mean, it feels the exact same, if not maybe even closer. And you know, we've grown up together, kind of thing. In game, yeah, I know, right? And in game, it feels different, but I don't think it's like necessarily in a bad way. It's just we're having to think way more of what's going wrong, to where like when that's happening, I feel like obviously team chemistry is going to be, it's not even like team chem. It's just like, I don't know. The vibe is slightly different in game, but it's not in a negative way. It's just in a, I don't know. Does that make sense? Like it's in like a constructive, like we're trying to figure it out like so desperately bad. And like obviously throughout the year, we just haven't really been able to do that. We haven't been able to crack into the top 2 consistently. So yeah, like out of game, no. In game, yes, but in a very minuscule, I don't know, in a non-negative way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the chemistry will always change when you have different challenges, like a new title, and you haven't had one in so long. So obviously, like having to learn it again, it's gonna change something for sure.
Yeah.
Fern, we see you, Team Light Rose. Hey, look, all the way, man. Power to you. Like you like what you like. I love that. Yep, that's the idea. Mattified. Grab a cup of coffee, drink with us. I know it is like 4:30 Eastern in the afternoon. It's probably not the healthiest time to drink coffee, but if you got stuff to do in the evening, you know,
nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it at all. How do you feel like the transition from KC to Orlando went? Because winning an event, the feeling is pretty amazing. You feel on top of the world. You feel like you're ahead of the race. You're ahead of the curb.
Yeah.
And then going into Orlando, obviously things didn't work out quite as well for you. And I know that, things were a bit funny with the series layout for you guys, and you weren't enjoying the series layouts very much. And obviously the bracket was a little bit more difficult and different because obviously the NA Super happened too. So you didn't come into that one first seed. So yeah, it's just a bit of a strange one. So talk about like how some of that affected your team, especially like I think the bracket and series layout, which is obviously something that really stood in your way. I think honestly all season really.
Yeah, I don't think it's like interesting because like even with the win at KC, like I feel like it solidified the feeling of knowing we can win, but I didn't necessarily like feel on top of the world because overall I think that we won because we were playing lights out, like we were clicking at the right time. Like, you know, it's any given Sunday, right? Like any team can win, especially with our talent when everything is clicking at the exact same time. We had a 5-month break in between that and, you know, off time and stuff like that. I don't know if anyone would kind of remember it, but at that time I started having a lot of internet issues. Infinite started having a lot of server issues. So there was like a whole lot of things that started happening basically at the same exact time. That was really rough. Like we're in a break, no one was enjoying Infinite, not just from our team but from like every team. Like it was this really big like issue within the game. I never necessarily felt like, even if there's an event like the weekend after KC, I can't even say like, oh, we would have went and won that. Like it literally for us I think came down to like, hey, we clicked at the perfect time, we're on fire, shows our potential but doesn't necessarily show where we're at. So then going into Orlando and Worlds, it just felt like we couldn't click. I put it in a tweet when we had lost, like it just felt like all year except for KC, we just couldn't figure out the way to click at the right time the way that other teams were, or maybe the other teams were just more they're a little bit more on the consistent side as well. So yeah, you know, it sucks. We couldn't figure out some maps like recharge strongholds. We just, for some reason, I think we literally might not have won it the entire year against the top 6 team, at least against the top 4 team. Like we probably won it against some top 6 teams. Because it's not like we're bad on it, but we're just not great on it compared to other top teams, you know. So when you get into a situation like that, it's very difficult because you're basically down 0-1 no matter what. And that was like a big issue with like the series layout. We won't go too much into it because it just takes up too much time, but like for some reason at Orlando it was like recharge was like game 1 like 6 of the 8 rounds or something like that, which is like, I think it was 5.
It's just like if the series like doesn't go your way, because like things that happen in Halo Infinite is so marginal.
Yeah,
like it's chalked. Like it's like really
you're down
hard.
you're down 0-1,
really difficult,
and then it's a Slayer and you're down 0-2, and I mean, you know good. And then you go into the fact of the bracket. I mean, Cloud9 loses a United, that probably shouldn't have happened, so we're playing them round 1, and that, you know, we go down 0-2, we win game 3, lose a close game 4 at Orlando. Worlds, we just play Optic and C9. I don't even think it came down to game types against Optic and C9 at Worlds. Like I just think that they were better than us. Like I'll just tip my hat like 100%. I just think that they were better at Worlds. But yeah, it's like you said, like in Infinite, the margin of mistakes is so small that when you get your poor side of game types and, you know, brackets or whatever, it's not gonna go good, not gonna go well for you. But the thing that I will always say is that if you want to win, you have to figure it out and you have to be able to win. And like when I always flash back to Halo 5, obviously like I could look at a series layout and know if like we were gonna win it. Not if we were gonna win it. I know we were like favored to win it, but I was never so like deeply concerned, if that makes sense. Like I would see a game type that we're not necessarily great at, and like it wouldn't be like, oh, now we're down 0-1. But in this game, that's definitely been a problem where like I see like recharge strongholds and I go, shit. And not like, oh, we're not gonna try or whatever, but I think in all of our minds we know that it is not likely to win, and that's just something that really you just can't have. Like you can have game types not favorable to you, but you can't have game types that are automatic losses, and I think that's something that we really suffered with pretty much all year. You know, I think that's what went not severely wrong at Worlds, because like I said, I think they were just better, but especially at Orlando, I think that was a big thing. Yeah.
So we have a couple questions that we need to catch up on here as well. But what was our first game ever? I think my very first game ever was Tomb Raider 2, I believe. I think it was Tomb Raider 2 on a chunky old white PC. It was like the ones that are like light gray. They are so chunky. They weigh a ton. You literally could throw it out the window and kill someone by accident. It was on one of those, and I was terrified of it because I was in the part with the tiger in the cave, and I was just screaming. It felt so real. Like I remember like genuine pixels, like the most pixelated stuff you've ever seen in your whole life, being the scariest thing I've ever seen. I mean, the tiger was square. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but it was terrifying. But I'm pretty sure that's my first ever game. What about you?
I think my first game would have been like, it would have been either CE or Pokemon. I think it had to be one of the two, and I can't think of which one I actually played first. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to like literally look up like when stuff was out and whatever. I mean, I remember playing CE. I was 6, you know, on Xbox. My cousin got the Xbox. Everyone was geared up about it. I remember getting absolutely addicted to it, and trying to go over there any chance I could to play. And we started landing. I want to say I played like Pokemon or something like that, like before that. But chat would have to tell me, or someone would have to tell me when it came out, I guess. Like, I feel like Pokemon had to have come out. Pokemon definitely came out before CE. So I feel like I had
Did
like...
you have a Nintendo DS?
I had like a Game Boy, I think is what they were called, right? Game Boy? Game Boy, yeah. So, yeah, either one of the two. One of the two.
I feel that. Yeah. It's a long time ago. Who would win in a lacrosse shootout?
Lot. Without question.
I feel like I'm like one. I wonder why that came up. But yeah. Drink wants to know H2O. Who'd win? I mean, every time. Me. Absolutely.
Her without question. She was the best female lacrosse player. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, what do you set me up for failure for?
They might not know that.
H2O knows that. Why do you think H2O said that?
He's gassing me up. Hold on one second. Let's see. I did miss a question earlier on from 50 Shades of Simon. Let me just quickly reread it. Do you think things like the MLG forums should make a comeback in terms of keeping the community alive? Example, back in the day, you could see all the rosters, trades, points, seeding. What do you reckon? Because I wasn't around in MLG days.
Yeah, I mean, I think like stuff like that is good. I mean, nowadays you just have like Reddit.
I'm so shiny. I'm just powdering.
Nowadays you have like Reddit and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, like I think the MLG forums is really cool. To where you could like have it all listed out and stuff. Yeah, I don't know what the best way. I mean, I don't even disagree with that, only for the fact of like, I mean, I've literally gone into tournaments like not knowing what seed we are, because like HCS, and you don't have to comment on this, but like HCS like don't post it until a week before, and I'm like, oh, okay, shit, we fell down to this seed for, I don't know, you know what I mean? So something like that is cool. Whether or not it's like a forum or whether it's just somewhere, I don't know how you'd go about it nowadays, but I think something like that would be cool.
How do you feel about your old MLG Halo team, Warriors, in Halo 3?
I mean...
How old were you in Warriors, by the way?
14, 15.
Oh, baby bite.
And then I was 16 in Reach, and then I left for Status Quo when I was 17.
Baby bite.
I don't know. I mean...
And now your dad bite.
I don't know what Warriors are talking about. I mean, I loved every team I've been on mostly throughout my whole career, so I mean, don't have anything negative to say about anyone. I think overall we did pretty well, right? Like, it was 15, getting like top 8, broken into the top 4 with Warriors, broken into the top 2. So, yeah, like feel good about it. Love those guys. I honestly like got really lucky. Even though I wish I would have gone on like a top team faster in my career, because I think I was like good enough. I'll pat myself on the back. I think I was good enough. I loved everyone I've ever teamed with. Like, for the most, I mean, I can't really think of any negative things to say about genuinely anyone. So I think that at least, even though I wish I was on a top team faster, at least I have that where, you know, they shaped me as a person and as a player, like everyone that I've teamed with in the past. So yeah, nothing but good things.
Absolutely. I know you have like tons of crazy stories from when you were a kid, probably. Just like how different it used to be. Like back in Halo 3 when you were like 14 to now, how different is it, like in terms of being a pro player? Because I know you're on like the come up, you're on the rise, you're trying to get there, but I just know that it was so different back then. Was it just a little bit more relaxed and chill, like people partying a little bit, like people weren't really, you know, it was kind of like you just turn up, you know? What kind of main differences is it now? People
just didn't take events nearly as serious, especially like, yeah, I just wouldn't say people took events as serious. I mean, I was in the top 8 and have terrible stories of people not practicing, and you know, it's not like necessarily their fault, it was just the way the times were, you know. And then even like back then, like for me being a younger player, they like being a young kid back then was like a liability to people. Whereas nowadays, if you're like 16 and you're really good, you just kind of like get thrown a contract. You know, like nowadays, like if you're the young kid coming up in esports, like everyone wants to team with you. Back then, it was the complete opposite. So, yeah, gaming's changed pretty significantly.
It has a lot. I have Red Wolf asking a question. Been getting into the HCS scene this whole last season. Had no idea we were engaged. Congratulations. We got to meet both of you at Worlds. Thanks so much for the pics. And I wanted to ask Lot if you did any other content I only ever see on the desk at events. I am glued to a desk. That is what I do. But I don't really do any other content other than the podcast when we do the podcast. And sometimes I'll stream very, very occasionally, but it's more for like fun. I don't really do it for anything other than just chilling out. So not really. I work really, really hard. I mean, Pete, you can attest this, but I barely have any time to think because I'm busy, traveling constantly, not just doing Halo, but doing, a little bit for COD as well. And kind of just trying to figure out work and keep up with what I'm doing in a lot of homework too. But I don't really do too much kind of extra content. I'm not a content creator, but I am a content competition talker of competition.
You started diving in and streaming this year, and you've had a lot of fun with it. So I think that's something that'll be really cool for you to keep doing. And it's not necessarily like super like sweaty streaming. Like you just play whatever you want to do and just have a good time and hang out. And I think overall that's the way to be with streaming. Especially if you can enjoy it and love it, then that's great. And you're a busy person, so can confirm super busy, and just the work you put into every show you do is it's literally impossible to be on stream for 7 hours a day with doing that on top of it. So you do a good job, and I know you, like I said, I know you enjoy streaming, so hopefully you get a little bit more free time to do it.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. If I littered myself with too much, I don't think I would be able to do as good of a job as I do on the desk, if that makes any sense, because there's as much stuff that I do live. I do an awful lot of homework and revision on kind of what I want to do and storylines and that kind of thing. So I need to make sure that I'm putting in as much time as I can to make the show really good. But I appreciate the question, and thank you very much for your congratulations. So we got King J in the chat. What's up, King? And his question is when is Ryder and Bailey getting another sibling? Well, the next sibling that Ryder and Bailey will get is probably going to be human. That is also, I'm not pregnant.
Imagine.
Chill. Hold on. I'm not pregnant. But that's kind of my guess is Intel. But that's probably going to be their next sibling.
Our house isn't big enough for a third dog. We've talked about getting another dog. Our house is not big enough for a third dog. It just is absolutely is not. So definitely can confirm.
Can confirm. Yeah. And can also confirm I'm not pregnant. Too young for that yet. I'm not ready. Too much going on. But one day, and I'm sure you guys will be the first to know. Let me see. Anything else that I've missed? You see any questions, babe? I can see some. It's just trying to like figure out where I was in the line. Hold on. Getting another sibling. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Fun. Do we think Scump retiring will affect the CDL and its viewership numbers? People love to say he's carrying COD, but I think that's a bit exaggerated nowadays. I think that one's such a difficult one, isn't it? Because he is such a huge staple of the community. I don't think we really have anyone like Scump in Halo.
It's literally, I don't think you have anyone like Scump almost anywhere in any other esport. Really. Yeah, it's insane. It's literally insane.
So I don't think it will affect the viewership because I think people will still come back to see competitive Call of Duty. But I do think that it might produce another Scump at some point. You might see other content creators and other personalities in the Call of Duty scene start to really come up and pop off as well. So I think as one king steps down, it might leave room for another on the throne. So I don't know, but I think it'll be it'll have some kind of effect, but I don't think it will be, oh gosh, right, no one's watching anymore.
I also don't think he's going anywhere. Like, he's gonna keep being involved in Optic. He's gonna keep streaming Call of Duty. He's probably gonna do watch parties or something for it. I think the idea of it affecting viewership, like, I think that only is true if he's just gone completely, not a part of Optic and all that stuff. And Optic alone is already huge enough. He won't be playing, but I highly doubt he will not be involved. Not necessarily like with talent, but within the Call of Duty scene, aka like, I mean, honestly, like, it could even help grow the scene just by him streaming more. I don't know. That's a hypothetical, right? But I mean, imagine him getting to stream and upload YouTube videos 24/7 and not worry about having to compete and like worry about that side of scrimming and all that stuff. I mean, that's just more eyeballs on the game at all times. So maybe it'll help. It'll hurt a little bit in terms of like the tournament weekend, but overall, I don't think it's gonna matter.
Paige, Trippin wants to know: would you ever consider being a CDL pro?
Probably not anymore. I mean, unless something goes wrong with Halo in the next couple of years, like, I just want to compete in Halo like really, really badly. Like, I still love it. I have a passion for it. I love Call of Duty. I just don't think my passion is the same. And I'm getting to the age now where, like, I just think hopefully within a couple of years, I mean, however many, I guess I decide to compete in Halo 4 or how many more we got, I don't know. But I think I'll just kind of be done with it. I don't think I'd have the ambition to switch within a couple of years. So yeah, probably not anymore.
Odin asks me, am I excited for the Witcher 1 remake? Yes, I am. I am so excited for the Witcher 1 remake. I cannot wait. But everything about The Witcher's been dampened just ever so slightly with Netflix bringing on a new Witcher as well.
Tragic.
So, like, game aside, I just got used to Henry Cavill being Geralt, and I was like okay with it, because at the beginning I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm really nervous, like seeing a live action.
He crushed it, right? Like, I didn't play the game, but like he crushed it, right?
Okay. He did do really, really good. But like, to now be used to one person and then having to switch to Liam Hemsworth, and I mean no disrespect to Liam Hemsworth, I know he's gonna give it some welly,
Yeah.
But my God.
Yeah, it's pretty tragic.
I don't want to be nasty.
No, it's not like
he's
just
a great actor.
Yeah,
he's a great actor. But
it's nothing against
about
him.
the comfortability, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about falling in love with one person, like one character, and then suddenly snatched.
Yeah.
And then having to believe the same thing that you've been watching, and it's the same person. It's just really difficult. It really is, very, very difficult. So yeah, that hurt. That really hurt. Yeah, couldn't believe that. And George, no, not a cat. We can't get a cat because it would drive the dogs nuts.
Ryder's like afraid of cats, like, basically.
He's deathly afraid of cats. Horrendously afraid of cats.
It's a scaredy cat. He's a beast, but he's afraid of everything. Not actually, but cats, yes. He's not actually afraid of everything, but cats, yeah.
But we don't have a wedding date set yet. We're waiting for some schedules to come through for the season to figure that one out. And sorry, by the way, guys, if you can hear my voice, it just took a bit of a beating at Worlds. It's all the excitement.
Recovering.
I always lose my voice, don't I?
You do.
After events.
You do.
This one's taken quite a bit to come back, actually.
Yeah.
And also, it could be the fact that to celebrate Worlds, we did do karaoke as a talent team for 5 hours.
Yeah.
That could have something to do with it.
I wasn't gonna rat you out, but it was definitely karaoke and not the event. Yeah, and the event plays a part of it.
Dion ballad that I did and performed.
Exactly. The event plays a part of it, but that's not the reason. Your voice was fine before you went to karaoke.
My voice was definitely not fine before karaoke. Oh gosh. Yeah. So that definitely has maybe something to do with it, just ever so slightly. Let me see if there's any other cool questions. I love answering the questions.
Yeah, same. It's been fun.
I think it's Benide JS says, how was competing in Ghost for you? I actually forgot you made the switch back. What was that experience like?
I really enjoyed it, like, because I actually really love Call of Duty and love playing Call of Duty and even competing in it. I had a blast doing it. I just made the mistake of not wanting to branch out. I really wanted to team with Halo people and stay with my friends. I was a really shy like 19-year-old, and just wanted to go pro with my friends and didn't want to branch out. So it was really fun. I thought it was really good. If you go look at my, I think they're still up there. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see like some crazy gameplays against like some really good teams, like Complexity, who was like winning everything back in the day. And like usually that's a good sign of like a good player lot. Like, you know, that like if you can get like some crazy gameplays against really good teams, like the potential is there. It's just about molding it into a consistent thing. So like I had the potential to do it, in my opinion. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Just I regret somewhat of not trying to branch out, but at the same time, anytime I think about that, like I love my life now and things turned out amazing to where I literally wouldn't want my life to be any different. So yeah, can't really say I'm sad with the way it went, I guess, but it was fun.
Was it a bit strange to, and this is just me kind of gassing up a little bit, I suppose, but like going from considered one of the top players in all of Halo and like, having a lot of respect in this esport and this game, this FPS title, to then trying to make it in a different FPS game, like, because I feel like, like I'm trying to put it in like the most humble way I possibly can. But it's almost like picking like a dodgeball team, and then people are being like, "Oh yeah, I'll take him. Like you're getting taken like first."
Yeah.
In Halo. But then with COD, it's almost like you had to prove yourself. So what, how did that feel? I think not even just to your ego, but to like the mental part of it, the mindset, like going into new FPS game, being like, I actually need to show that I'm pretty all right at this.
Yeah, I feel like we just had like a head start because like everyone knew who we were and people were like kind of anticipating that we would like do really well. So I feel like we got a lot of scrims that we probably like didn't even really deserve with like pro teams. So like, yeah, it was like different in terms of like wanting to like showcase how good you are. Whereas in like Halo, like I don't really have to like think about that. It's just something that like naturally occurs. So yeah, it was different, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like we almost had like a pass to that, if that makes sense, because like of how people already viewed us, Yeah,
definitely. I understand all that. So I see some of the questions about Sen, whether they're staying together, if you're making a change, etc. For the love of our mental health, we won't be answering any of those questions because things haven't even been discussed yet.
We just got back.
Most teams, we have no idea, do we?
Yeah, no.
Usually we know about other teams like by now. I think everyone's just like resetting for a second.
Well, it's the end of the year. It's the end of the season. It's the end of the year. People are taking breaks and all that stuff. You see a lot of players not streaming Halo at the moment. It's interesting because of the situation with the Optic Invitational, where like we don't even know who's invited, we don't know who's going, but like that's like a preseason event. So even though there's technically something coming up, I think people are still really kind of holding on to the fact that like, hey, like this just ended. Like everyone is, I think, wanting to take the same breather basically, and then gonna jump back into it.
This is quite a good question from Tripham. In a hypothetical world, would you have ever teamed with Frosty when he went to COD?
I would have, but I don't think we would have been able to stay on the same team. I think that's like the best way to put it, because it's like it's the same kind of situation as what happened when I initially went in Ghosts, where like you need someone to team with you. You need to get picked up by people who are really developed in the game and are going to help you develop as a player. That's what Formal did really well. That's what I did not do well in Ghosts. I just try to stay with my friends. Compared to if I would team with Brad, I think we would be really good in Black Ops 4 because that's when he initially switched, but same kind of thing. The only thing I could think is maybe it'd be a little bit easier to team because it was 5v5. So maybe having 3 other players instead of 2 would have been better. You know what I mean? Mark, I love you. Thank you for the resub.
Big resub from Onset, my brother. Love you, Mark. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of strange. Like, well, not strange, but I guess it would be normal for you, I suppose. But imagine like switching FPSs with like same teammates.
Well, like Splice did it, and it didn't go. I mean, they had to pick up I think 2 other people, to be fair, because Shotzi couldn't play, and then I think they really had a hard time like picking a 5th. But like Splice tried doing that from H5 to Black Ops 4, and it was kind of the same kind of the same deal. Like I think they were like really all individually solid at the game, but they couldn't necessarily like put it together. I don't think they gave it the best crack because they couldn't really find a solidified team. But yeah, it's definitely something. Teaming with other pros and teaming with other people, that have been in the game and are veterans of the game, definitely will push you a much further away.
Yeah. Stroz has a question for you, Peach. Says, I have a question, but it's borderline asking for free coaching.
Okay.
Where can we go to learn stats for specific game modes and maps? Even when pro stream scrims to watch, they generally do it with no comms, so we can't hear callouts and planning. Rightfully so. We just have to kind of make it up for ourselves. Based on the info we get from markers on screen. I totally understand that, Striz, and it's very difficult. And for casters who want to watch scrims, and when we do watch scrims, it can be hard too. But kind of makes sense to a certain degree because, if you are streaming your comms, like it can be really tough. Like you can't really be totally honest as a team, and you can't just kind of let yourselves free flow if you want to say something specific about someone, or like be like, this pro player likes to do this, like not like shit on them, but like, you can't really exaggerate the way that you want to exaggerate if people are watching. So I understand that. But if there is a place to go, Peach, you probably know it.
I mean,
oh, he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, like it's difficult. Like the thing that I would say is like honestly, you could just watch back tournament gameplay or scrim gameplay of what you're talking about, and like just evaluate situations where, like okay, so for example, like Native Red streams their scrims with no comms, right? So like one thing that you could do that could help you learn without having that info is like pay attention to when they have their ideal situations, aka like 4 dead on the map, in a strongholds, in an oddball, whatever. What do they then try to accomplish? And you can kind of take bits and pieces of that information and probably figure that out. If that makes, like, do you get what I mean? Like, if you go back and watch it and like pause it and then watch it from the point of like, hey, they have 4 dead, like what are they going to try to do? Because most of the time every team is trying to do the exact same thing. So if you can like literally pause it, play it, write it down, you can then start to evaluate in your own situation, like, hey, in my gameplay now, pull up the same exact thing, pause it. Do you do the same thing that like say Druck does? And you might not be able to do the same thing, but obviously like you can try to replicate it to the best of your ability.
Yep. Oh yeah. There you go. There's your answer. Bleeding Teal. Probably more of a question for HCS, but one thing I felt was lacking at Worlds, was a dedicated screen that only showed the current state of the pools or bracket. Any reason this isn't a thing? I don't quite have the answer to that question entirely because it definitely is more of like a production HCS question. But we do show it every single segment, so that if people are wondering, we show it there. But I probably would say that it's because we do have 4 different streams. So it's just a lot of streams to be kind of juggling, as well as having like a screen just dedicated to that. I'm sure that they could do it. I'm sure that they could, but I'm not entirely sure why they don't. So I don't quite have the right answer for that for you guys. I did see Mark's question. Do you ever take your racing wheel in the actual car and both pretend to be driving at the same time? Paige, do we ever do that?
We do all the time. At least once a week.
Yeah, and if I have the wheel, the fake wheel, I have to make the noise as well.
Well, I mean, otherwise, how would you know if you're driving?
The vroom noise.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we confuse the hell out of cops. Let's just say that. It's like what are those bikes called? Is it a tandem bike?
Yeah.
It's a tandem car.
I think so.
That we have.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's a tandem bike, right? Yeah, it's a tandem car. Yeah, no, you're welcome, Mark. No problem. You're welcome. What other questions have I missed? Let me see. Can you see any? I need your eyes too. And if we do miss any, please
I think
do
Shay said, "Do you ever see yourself casting for HCS in the future?" I don't know if that's to me or to you though.
That's you nutter.
Well, I mean, like you like could you see yourself like just doing everything? You know what I mean?
No, I think it's definitely to you.
Probably not a caster. Like I hope Halo blows up to where in 10 years when I retire, I could just go and be an analyst, and I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I'd love to do it. But I don't know if I could be a caster. I just don't think I have the voice for it. I don't know if I could speak that well, and I don't know. It's the hype factor to it. I just don't think I could do. Being an analyst is something I could do for sure, and I would love to do. But whether or not I'll have the opportunity, given the Halo situation of like, what comes first of do I retire and is infinite, call it infinite, I don't know, still just massive enough for me to do that, or and also the other thing is like, I think as a pro, it's a little bit hard to, this is hypothetically speaking, so don't take it like super serious, but I think like as someone who has been unbelievably critical to my employer, being like 343 and HCS, I imagine if I did say I decided to retire tomorrow, it might be hard to go get another job doing, I don't know, but who knows? That's not really necessarily something I need to worry about or whatever, but yeah, it could be a little bit sticky, I guess.
Yeah, it can definitely be a little bit sticky.
Could be an analyst. Like I could do it.
I think you'd be a fantastic analyst.
Like I could do it.
I'm actually in need of some permanent desk residence. So
tell HCS if the number's right. I mean,
I don't want you to retire.
If the number is right,
But we could actually be kind of a lit duo up there.
That is true, Llamas.
Imagine we just get into full arguments about stuff. I say something, you're like, no.
No, absolutely
not.
That's
not right.
That would never happen.
No, to be fair, it would never happen. We don't ever fight anyway.
We do not.
Not properly anyway. I did see one. Oh yeah. So Jay Ronan asks, who's got better aim, Roy or Royal 2?
Royal 2.
Oh snap! But Roy, he never misses a 4.
No, Roy's shot is nuts. Don't get me wrong, but Matt is Matt is like by far like one of the best pure aimers in esports, period. I will give it to Roy. Roy's shot was ridiculous, but you got to tip it to Royal too on how many games he's now played in that he just doesn't miss a bullet. Roy was like same thing, but just I don't know. Roy, it started really in like H3 and like Reach, but Reach was also like Bloom and Sprint. So like, how do you not miss a bullet in that? And that's coming from someone who like got second at the event to him. Unbelievable talent, Roy. Unbelievable, and probably ahead of his time. But yeah, I mean, I'd give it to Royal too.
Okay, love that. Different times as well. Complete different generation.
Well, it's like back then, it was like if you didn't miss a bullet, people were like, "Whoa!" Nowadays, if you miss a bullet, you are probably dropped from your roster. So it's just different times.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I really like this question from Tripum as well, which it's a really good one. Back in the days, PJ, how did your family feel about you going pro in games, especially since back in the day the scene was not as big? This is interesting because this is one of the first topics we ever talked about on our podcast ever. But I think for people who haven't heard that one, it is definitely such an interesting conversation because gaming still is seen as, oh, they're gaming again. Oh God, like get some sunlight, get some friends. And it's just like, I personally think the polar opposite to those remarks. Yeah. But I feel like your parents were never like that, ever, really.
No, I mean, like, for the most part, they pretty much supported it from the start. I mean, I got a little bit lucky where the first event I went to, I did pretty well. I mean, it's just, 7th round of the FFA. I was like 11 or something like that. I think it was like 11 or 12.
Baby bite.
Yeah, so like I think I was like pretty fortunate to where I did really well my first event, to where my parents like knew like, okay, this isn't just like a hobby, like it's clearly there's something potentially there. But credit to them, I mean, they've just been loving and supporting from the start, which I know not everyone is fortunate enough to say. So yeah, just combination of luck and a little bit of skill probably.
Yeah, and also it's just so cute because I feel like sometimes, and not everybody has this as well. So you I do respect people who have had to stick it out and really grind through it and kind of balance, that with their parents as well, because I'm sure not every pro player's had like parents like yours who have just been like, hey, sweetheart, you're so good at this, like go for it, or just trust the process. I think that's a lot, lots of people say that as well, is like trust the process.
Yeah.
And that very much is what your parents did with you as a
Yeah.
kid. But yeah, just having your mom drive you, I mean, hours, like we're looking at like 10 plus hours to events, and just like really try to commit to it and like help you out.
Yeah,
And
it's like literally
that's obviously
wild,
huge,
wild to think about. I mean, like, it's
Yeah.
just, that's why I say I know how lucky I am with it. And it was in a time period where like the money wasn't really there. Like, honestly, like it wasn't like we were playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like if you won on the weekend, you made like $5,000, I mean, it's not, at the time it was like big for esports, but it's not exactly like career driven. I just got lucky where with them, they supported me start to finish. And then, or from the very start, they supported me. And then I was just lucky where I was young enough in the scene when like the esport bubble kind of expanded to where like all of a sudden there's just hundreds of thousands of dollars thrown into it. And, yeah, like it's like obviously at that point I already kind of made a name for myself and had the career path laid out for being a professional player to continue. So, but yeah, at the start, I don't know. I mean, like even as a parent, like when I think about it in my head to this day, I mean, it had to be like, what are you doing? Like, where are we going? Like, where do you want to go? Like, what,
and you don't know the answers to that either.
Yeah.
Which is even, I think that's even more testament to your parents, because it's like, I think nowadays when you're a kid and, I mean, like we're talking like how old you were back in the day, what, 11 to 14, let's just say, just for, hypothetical sake. And like now you can be like, Mum, but look, or Dad, but look. Like, look at all these incredible pro players. Look at the leagues. Look at the franchising. Look at the money. I think that's such a big thing now.
Yeah.
But back then, it was like just taking a leap of faith. It's like if you're really good, if you were allowed to play as much as you were allowed to play, if you could juggle school at the same time, and it's just like suddenly it's grown into a career path. But back then, there really wasn't like but look, it was kind of like a trust me, or like, I really like this. I don't know, I've heard of a couple tournaments, which is, it's such an interesting kind of comparison now, and how much it's grown so quickly. And we're still in our infancy as well.
Yeah.
Technically, business-wise, which is really cool too. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one for sure. But yeah, we touch grass, we have dogs. So when we pick up their poo,
yeah,
we're touching grass technically.
Yeah, we go outside,
We go outside sometimes. I mean, how long have we been in this basement now? 36 hours. I'm joking. We go outside. Don't worry. King and Queen of Halo, that's very sweet. We try. I did just see something. Okay. Mortally KN. Snakebite, how do you make the most out of your practice? Which I think is a really good question, because scrims are extremely long with 17 game types, maps and mode rotation. So very, very long scrims and every single day. How do you make the most out of your practice?
I feel like for the most part, like in my career, I've just always tried to look for repetitive things that continue to happen individually and as a team. So like, I think that, and then when you notice that they're happening over and over and over again, like those are the things that you basically have to address. So to make the most out of practice, I think it's just a lot about mental notes, and picking up on that exact, like, hey, does this keep happening? Does this setup keep getting broken? Okay, well, how do we fix that? So make the most of it is just like practicing really hard and trying really hard and making sure you're giving it your full effort so that you can know if what's going wrong is because of an effort or is it because it's actually flawed. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that's a good answer. Just try really hard and then pick up on those kind of repetitive things that continue to happen. And you can have that even in matchmaking, like, when you get sniper, like how effective are you with it? If you're not effective with it, like why is that? And that's how you then make your practice effective of playing matchmaking, is how do you become a better power weapon player, because you now recognize that you're not being efficient with it. So yeah.
No, I gotta say that's an interesting perspective on it, because it is really difficult to like maintain concentration for that amount of time as well. So, and every single day too, which is, it's a lot. You work very, very hard, babe.
Thank you.
Really do.
Right back at you.
Fierce says, gotta ask the hard hitting questions. How did LVP take it when you broke the news that she's not your number one fan? Would you care to elaborate?
Joel claims to be my biggest fan. He's really not, though. It's been a tricky relationship between Joel and I, between Fierce. It's been, he started out as an EG fan. Everyone's kind of like left from that time period. So he kind of started like kind of coming over. Yeah. Like it started
really
as
he's a Lethal fan.
It started as, yeah, I mean, like kind of like, you know, it started as like, he's a Roy and Lunch fan, and then like they kind of left him, and then he's stuck with me, and then I don't know, you know, it was like an Over 2 fan, and then Tom left, and then Roy left, and then Lunch left. Yeah, you know, and now it's like you're just kind of stuck with like, well, I guess I love PJ now, so you know.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, I just gotta say, I'm definitely a very big fan. Might not be number one. I like to think I'm number one, but I'm a big damn fan. Okay.
Thanks, baby. I think
I'll 1v1 for the fan.
I think I'll be honest.
Fan,
I think Jill. I got to be honest with you. I think she's got it now. I think she's got it. Sorry,
Have
pal.
you probably? I don't know if you probably hear me screaming
at
from
the
the
events
off camera. Oh my god.
He said everyone
screaming stuff like
he said everyone
my
leaves
husband.
in the end. Joel's sitting there like as an Eastward fan. Everyone leaves me.
This is true. We do have Jenna in the chat. Jenna was the kind gifter of this beautiful bag of coffee, which is absolutely gorgeous. And Ghost Rider. And Jenna, get this, it's Halloween. How perfect is this name for Halloween, Ghost Rider? We are sipping it right now. Thank you so much, babes. We appreciate you very, very much. Tripham asks, LVP, how was the process for you going into esports and how are your parents about it? Like, how did you decide this was for me? And how did your parents react to your decision at first? Well, my process was a very strange one. And I just really fell into it, to be honest. It was a very odd kind of like moment where, you know, I wanted to be a presenter, but I thought I wanted to be a traditional sports presenter like rugby and football in the UK. But it just, I was lacking like passion for it. You know, I think because I had a career, but I played lacrosse for 11 years at the highest level that you possibly can. I felt like, oh, I love presenting. I love talking. I should do something with sports, and lacrosse commentating is not a thing in the UK. So I was like, I'll just do something like rugby or football. And then I was, you know, doing lots of little bits to make ends meet, as you do. And I was doing work for an event company in traditional sports, and I was trying to also interview there. And I happened to stumble across somebody from Gfinity who just basically said to me like, hey, we see you're into gaming, like via your social media, want to come do this COD Last Chance qualifier in London? I was like, yep, sign me up. Like, I will do that. And, you know, long story short, at the end of that weekend, first ever time doing anything to do with gaming on camera, they offered me a full contract after that weekend, and I just signed it. I was like, yep, absolutely. And it's just kind of spiraled into what it is today. But yeah, it was very odd. I literally just fell into it, like tripped and fell into it. My parents were great about it. I mean, I quit university. I dropped out of university at the end of my second year. I didn't want to do it anymore. I did not like it. I hated the subjects I chose. I even switched subjects after year one. Just wasn't for me. I don't have regrets about doing that. I think a lot of people would be like, oh my God, you don't have a degree? No, I don't. I've never been good with education. I'm not very good at being tested or exams, etc. I'm sure lots of you guys can relate. So that decision was the one that my parents were like, holy smokes, what is she going to do? But I'm the type of person that's very independent. So I knew I'd find something. And it wasn't for lack of hard work that I didn't want to be in university anymore. It's because it wasn't for me. So I just put that hard work effort into something else. And that was the rest of my career. So they were really chill about it. They were like, oh, wow, amazing opportunity. You're going to do Call of Duty. Great. Is that game? I was like, yeah, it is that game. So yeah, and it just kind of, you know, it went on. And now I've got my parents coming to events and watching me at 5 a.m, because they're in the UK, and yeah, they're very proud now, which is really cool. So it did work out.
I agree with what Joel said. Getting a degree is wildly overrated outside of a few professions. I would say if you do it, I've got to say power to you. But listen, it's unbelievably challenging, and I think the situation that you're in is where I think it's overrated. I am not someone who thinks you should go to college, and this is like a topic for a whole nother day, obviously, when we're not already an hour in, but it is literally, unless you know specifically what you want to do and you know the requirements of what you want to do, I think the situation you're in, or you were in, where like you don't have a passion for anything like being in school specifically. Obviously, I think you'd probably go like a journalist, I guess, route, or like I'm sure there's some kind of like media. I don't know if there is in college, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Where like you could have went for that, but a lot of people go to college because that is like what you were told you were supposed to do, and then by the end of it you have a degree in something that you're not going to use, and then you either have to go back or you, like Joel said, don't end up using that degree at all.
Yeah, I think it, I agree with a lot of that, but I do think it depends on what you're doing. Like if you're doing, if you're going into medicine, a lot of science and stuff. I'm seeing a couple of things in here. I have a bio degree to get into med school, 100%.
100%.
And it depends on what you're doing for it. It's just like, could you imagine going to the A&E and I'm like, oh, sugar, I've broken my arm. There's a bone sticking out. And the doctor just comes up with a bit of saran wrap and is like, this should do the trick. And it's like, well, hold on a second. They're like, yeah, sorry, I didn't graduate.
But that's where it's required.
You're like, hold on a
that's
second.
where it's required. It's just for the, not average, but for the, probably a large majority of the population, like you guys are saying, that, don't actually need it to accomplish said task. Like lawyers, doctors, 100%. Yes, 100%. You need it. Have to be tested, proven to go into that field. There's a large majority of other occupations that don't require it. And overall, I'm not trying to be an advocate for like, hey, don't do that or whatever. But you know what I mean. I think
you should just do what you feel is right. And there are also people who love education. They love learning. They love that, like the next step, and because I know that education goes from obviously as simple as possible into kind of a deeper, more specific kind of learning that you're doing on one tiny little thing. It's amazing.
Where I think that the issue lies with this topic is just for people that are made to feel bad for not getting their degree. That's more so why I say that's where I'm like.
I agree with you there, because there has been a certain time in my life. I think when I really made the decision, I was really scared to tell my friends.
100%.
I was really scared to like admit that to my peers, or, and people were like, oh, did you go to uni? And I'm like, yeah, I did, but
you dropped, I left. Yeah, I dropped out of it. And people are like, whoa,
I didn't
like
complete it. Exactly. It's just like, there is that type of stigma, isn't there, still to this day? But I'll tell you what, I'm here as proof to tell you that it's not all about your grades always. It's like education is actually it's a very specific way of measuring oneself, and it is very hard to do so. Like for me, I'm not somebody who is a super intellectual individual where I could give you something, an incredible essay on one thing, but I know a lot of stuff. Like I know some weird general knowledge things that not many people know.
Amount of stuff.
It's very weird. Like I'm really good at trivia and stuff like that you just can't teach in school.
Lot knows stuff that like you just should never know. Like it's just
It is true, but like that would never get me anywhere. It's
a lot will like.
Is there a degree in trivia, in random shit that people find hard to probably know, or like not the average person would know? I need to go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I'll go upstairs and she'll be on the laptop and she's like watching like a surgery, and it's just like, what in the world? Like, what are you doing?
Oh my god, you gonna tell them that?
But you know so much. It's cool because you know so much stuff on like such a wide variety
I can tell you
of
what
topics. Like
in a brain surgery, brain surgery, and just weird shit like that. I mean, Jenna knows.
I'm more of
like I'm watching documentaries on random stuff. I'm watching like. It helps us, I feel like, live life sometimes.
Yeah, I'm more of like a book. It's like funny because we're kind of like the opposite. I feel like somewhat we're like, I'm a book person. Yes. You're like I want to see it and learn everything. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's such an interesting kind of topic, isn't it? And it's so weird because I feel like, our age and I can see in chat as well, like everyone has something to say about it, because I feel like it is specific to do with, our age bracket right now. And education is such a big part of life, isn't it? Because you do it for the majority of your life, majority of your childhood, you grow up and that's what you spend your time doing, is learning. So it's such an interesting topic for sure. I'm enjoying just reading what everyone's saying about it as well.
Absolutely.
Matt says, I have a 6-figure salary without a degree.
Yeah.
It's possible. I love that.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, people who have been in school for 7 years to be a doctor and to be like a surgeon and stuff like that, I'm just like incredible. I'm like, wow. Like I'm floored by that, but I'm also floored by the people who decide not to and decide to put that effort and energy into something else. And I think that's That's also incredible. So I think people are very quick to judge nowadays, but I think you shouldn't be. I think you should just be happy for people and listening and learning from other people's kind of like stories and what they've done as well. So yeah, it's a really cool topic.
Absolutely.
For sure. Because I mean, goodness gracious, your career. How does education help your career?
Yeah, I mean, like none.
It's a rough one.
None.
It's a tough one, isn't
none at all.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think like it helped. I think like education for me like helped shape me as like a person. I guess like I had to learn time management and multitasking and stuff that I think I still am pretty good at when it comes to like I think that stuff that I found useful even in my gaming career, but in terms of like the actual of what I was learning and yeah, it's just nothing. Nothing of what I learned will ever be used for esports, and that's likely to be where I kind of am for, I don't know, maybe a long while. So we'll see. I have a year left on a financial accounting degree, so we'll see if I ever go finish it.
Do you reckon you would like to do that?
Nope.
Oh, then don't do it.
Well, it's just.
Exactly.
It's just what I did. It was what I was doing. I was going for physical therapy. Which I would have loved to do physical therapy. And I did all my prereqs to get into a really good college and had a letter of recommendation from the head physical therapist. And like basically I did everything I had to do to get accepted into it, into the program. And I was talking to the head physical therapist, and this is when like MCC was starting to kick off, and he knew about gaming, like he knew my background. And I remember telling him like, oh, well, this next year, this is right before I would have applied into the program. He said, or I told him how I was going to go compete at MCC tournaments or whatever. And he literally was like, you are probably going to have to decide on what you want to do because you cannot do both. Like the program is so intense and involved, like you're not going to be able to split your time and be traveling around the world and doing all this stuff while also being in that program, let alone just missing classes. So I diverted into financial accounting. George said it. I remember you do school after streams. I literally at the first Worlds that we won, like 2016, I had to run up after doing like all the media stuff we had to do and finish my final, which I submitted late. But I did get a pass on it because I wrote in and explained why I was late, and I included like articles of like proving what I was doing, what I said, and the professor replied being like, okay, I'll accept it. Congrats on the win. Yeah. And then once
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, once 2017, because after 2016, like Worlds, like we actually didn't know what was still going to be happening, or like, hey, is there more Halo tournaments? Like, what the hell is going on? So once 2017 was announced and there was another World Championship announced, that's when I literally decided I'm going to take a year off, and then I just haven't gone back because of obviously how it's kind of continued to go.
Yeah, you haven't really taken a slump properly yet, have you?
No, well,
it's been going pretty well.
This year is.
This isn't a slump, babe.
I mean, hey,
chat, we can all attest how incredible. Actually, that's something I wanted to talk about. It's actually in my little sheet. I sometimes make a doc with a little couple of things that we want to talk about. And like, despite the placements this year for your team and I think placement overall at Worlds, my God, you had a good year, babe. Like, my goodness me, I think every single podcast like we were in, it would usually be about, post event, post something that we, you just done. And it was always, a big topic was how good you have been. And for the time we haven't been on the podcast doing it, you've got better as well. Like you've got even better. Like you are so good. And there are times when I'm working and I try to stay away from talking about you. And it's more so just so that I can show how professional I am and I can show how unbiased I am on the desk because I want to be. But sometimes you just don't give me a choice. Like you're so good, like we have to bring you up. Like you are our player to watch. You are, our sponsored segment, our, the guy that we're trying to highlight because you're so good. You're good at everything. Like everything has been so good this year. How I want to quickly know, like from your perspective, that you've been good. You're not dumb. You're not stupid. But how has it been transitioning into this game? Do you feel like this game you're feeling, super young again, like back in the day when, you were also that guy to watch out for? Are you feeling that same kind of feeling of performance and how you've been doing?
Yeah, I feel like it's not like I like didn't know like that I'd want to still be competing and all that stuff, but obviously with like the long break from like MCC tournaments into the Halo 5 online stuff in 2020 and waiting for Infinite, I definitely was like sitting there going like I knew I could still compete at a high level, but I think the biggest thing was like not knowing if I really wanted to anymore. Like I knew I would give the first year of Infinite a shot, and I feel like I was like, okay, well, like I'll play the first year no matter what, but if I'm not loving it like how I was not loving online Halo 5 in 2020, I'm like, I just don't know if I can keep doing this. Even though I was like winning the majority of the online stuff, I just wasn't enjoying it the same. I think that if there's one positive that came out of this year, it's I have a big confidence in myself on an individual front and on a team front. That I can continue to play and continue to play for wins. I know that my team can. And I guess the biggest positive takeaway is just knowing that like that competitive drive is really still there. So yeah, I mean, I guess like that's kind of the big takeaway on the year of, you know, like you said, like I know I thought I played really well, and I thought I just gained a lot more. I almost gained like more confidence like as the year went on, you know, to where.
Did you feel like in Anaheim that was like for you like, hold on, shit, I'm good at this? Because Anaheim was like, I feel like the start of when we saw like that different side to Snakebite. The Snakebite, I think everybody was like, you know, wanting to see for the rest of the season, and he didn't go away. Like you kept him out there. But like, do you feel like Anaheim, you were like, okay, damn, like I know again wasn't the greatest placement for you guys as well, but as an individual, as a player, you were like, I get this. Like
Yeah.
I clearly have some talent here.
Yeah, I was laughing. I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at what Joel said, by the way, because he said, as his number one fan, I would never advocating for me to play worse. So you don't have to talk about me.
I'm not advocating for him to play worse, but I'm just like they're like, oh, here we go, Twitch chat, get yourselves ready, get the keyboards out. Here we go. She's banging him. Oh, she loves him.
Oh
simping.
Jesus.
You know, that's how it be.
That is how it be. No, I feel like I think Anaheim, I had like a sneaky good tournament at Raleigh, like because we had to play through open and we weren't on main stage other than our matches against Optic. I think I had like a 1.3 with like a crazy amount of objective. Obviously we got fourth, but given the situation of like we had a sub and everything, like I was really happy with Raleigh. But you got to keep in mind, like heading into Raleigh being the first event and we had a sub, whatever, like we didn't necessarily get like an insane amount of scrims, right? So like I wasn't sitting there going like, oh man, I'm the best player heading into this, like whatever. It was kind of like an unknown thing. And then like when we played at the event, I was like, man, like I played really well, our team played really well, but like obviously on individually, like I'm winning like loads of battles and doing all this productive stuff in game, where I was like, man, like I that was pretty easy. Like, okay, that, you know, all right, cool. And then Anaheim happened, and yeah, I gained like a lot of individual confidence at Anaheim, where I feel like I had like two back-to-back tournaments of playing the same way, and I was like, okay, like you're for real, like you can keep doing this. And in my head I remember saying this in my chat, like, well, like I can basically do this assuming the Infinite stays somewhat of the same and we can all knock on, I need you to knock on wood for me, please. Realistically in my head I was like, all right, well, like you probably are gonna be able to do this until you no longer want to, like unless my thumbs completely fall off, like, and that's like a really good, as a pro player, that's like a really good feeling of like, hey, like your individual skill, because it happens, like you jump on a new game and it's been a couple years and all of a sudden like you're just not the player you were, just by age and maybe motivation factor. But yeah, the motivation came back and like, yeah, just feel confident. And then, you know, we went out and won KC, so
it clicked, man. Like there's no other way to say it. It clicked.
Yeah.
For sure. And also Spectre, I see you. We do have to make picks sometimes. I actually have been saying I'm not doing it anymore to all of our picks, because like it forces everyone to be biased, the picks. You know what I mean? Like no matter who you are. And I believe that Sen can do it. And to be honest, the first time I did do a pick, they won. KC.
That's true.
So I was like, no one can tell me I'm unbiased. I'm just bloody right. I'm just correct. But yeah, it does get a bit funny. No, I know you are, Spectre. That's why I was just like, I said to HCS, like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do the picks. Even if I wasn't, you know, obviously engaged to one of the players, I still wouldn't want to do it, because it does I think give the broadcasters like something to root for or against, and I don't like that.
I remember Bravo. I remember like talking to Bravo about it, and he said something. He said something really similar, where he was like, he hates doing picks because he feels like when the tournament's going on, he's like rooting for teams because of like he wants to kind of like be right type of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I think that's like I just don't think that in esports you really as a talent should have to be making that kind of stuff.
We've made the joke about Gaskin as well. Like we make a joke about Gaskin all the time now, like your Optics #1 fan, because we'd be making arguments, like we'd have segments where they'd put up our picks, and like we'd be making arguments on why we picked who and who's our wild card, etc., etc. And it's just like people get teams can get a bit butthurt, people can get a bit butthurt, as I'm sure lots of casters know.
Sure as I got you.
So it's just like it can get a bit mixy there for us because we are trying to say it as we see it and from our professional opinions. So it can be really difficult. And to be perfectly honest, right, this year anyone could take it. I'm like, did you see Worlds?
Yeah.
My God.
It's funny because it was like anyone could take it, but then like only 3 did, and it's like that's like the weird. It's like the weird.
Get mixy along the way.
But it does. Like I mean that's where you see C9 losing to United, and C9 losing to United.
Too, the losses absolutely as well. It's like marginal.
I mean we had game 5s. This year, G1, Quadrant, G1, PK, United, like in H5,
taking down Cloud9.
H5, it was like if you weren't in the top 4, like you probably weren't going to game 5 with us. And I think that can be said about all the top 4 teams. Like you would only take other top 4 teams in game 5. Other than that, it was like just seemed to be like 3-0s kind of 3-0s or like 3-1s kind of like the whole way through. I think. I mean, I don't know. You guys watch H5. You all feel the same way? I think so.
Yeah. No, I agree. Has there been anybody who you have played against in previous titles who's really surprised you with how good they are coming into Halo Infinite? And you can obviously pick some obvious ones, I'm sure we know. But is there anyone else that maybe we wouldn't think you'd pick that you were like, oh, damn, they really get this game, that they're looking really good. They have potential over the next couple of years with this game to start making some serious noise individually.
Can you repeat that again? What was it? So like players who have played in previous titles who are like lights out and Infinite kind of?
Who's like really surprised you, that have maybe like really been kind of like, not really very loud in terms of their gameplay in previous titles, but this year they've been like ones to watch out for or have really impressed you personally?
I don't know. That's tough. That's tough because I feel like all the people that have impressed me in Infinite like were like really impressive in other games, just maybe not in the same. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like Native Red. I guess like Native Red maybe. Like they were really good in Halo 5.
Like individual players.
Oh,
like there's certain individual players you're just like, damn,
like
they've got really good at this.
Yeah, like Lucid and Trippy, even though I thought they were like really good at Halo 5 and were standout in Halo 5, I think they've only separated themselves like more in Infinite. So no disrespect to their H5 game at all, because they were obviously in the top, probably the top 3. They got second at the last tournament. But yeah, probably like Lucid, Trippy, maybe like Penguin, Tolic. I think Tolic's had a great year. Where in like H5, sure. Like he's really good in H5, but like I think now in Infinite he's solidified himself as like a really top slayer.
I mean, Bound obviously as well.
Yeah, but Bound was like, Bound was like
not fully
yeah.
Pro
He was like, I didn't compete against him in Halo 5 until like 2020. Like and it was like. And then in 2020, I knew he would be a really amazing player in Infinite, so it was a little bit, that's the only reason why I didn't mention him. I mean, obviously I think he's like rookie of the year and everything, but yeah, Bound was like, yeah. I'd say like, I'd say those like, I think I named 4. I'd say those 4 are really good picks. Like Lucid and Trippy, I think separated themselves completely in Infinite, compared to like everyone else. And then like, like Tolic, and Penguin. Penguin is really good at Halo 5. Like Penguin is no slouch. He was good. People forget he was like top 2 with Liquid, top 2 to 3 with Liquid. He was on Renegades at the end, who were a top 4 team. Like Penguin is really, really good in Halo 5, but obviously solidifying yourself as a top 2 the whole year is like you're again pushing yourself up kind of the same way. I feel like Trippy
100%.
Yeah.
I think like if you're doing that with your team, like we've seen how powerful one team change can be. Like one person coming in can like change the whole dynamic. I mean, we saw that for FaZe.
Yeah.
You know, FaZe, sorry, by the way, we're probably going to start hearing
Trick or
some dogs
treat.
barking because Trick or Treat is starting. It's 5:30 p.m. here Eastern. So if you do hear lots of noise, lots of banging and stuff, you know, it's the little kids are coming around. But I think like one team change makes such a big difference to a team. So it's like if you are part of that formula to win or to do well, you're doing something right. Because if you are slacking as an individual, and or it's not even that you're bad, it's just that it's just not fitting in with the gameplay. Like you saw what happened when they took Snipe down off FaZe and put King Nick in. It just totally different team, totally different outcome,
or like
totally
formal for Ola, you know, just
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Just really, really small little changes make all the difference. And if you're part of that formula, then there's no two ways about it. You're doing something right.
Yeah.
So the fact that Penguin has been, you know, in that like obviously that winning domination part, you know, dominating the game, I should say, at the beginning of the season, staying top two the entire time, doing something right. You know, the guy's been popping off in so many different series. Like it's been really cool to watch that for sure. What about EU Halo? I feel like EU Halo in general in Halo Infinite has definitely put themselves on the map.
Yeah, 100%.
Like just in general.
Quadrant, Ascend. I mean, they're like, it's like, yeah, I would just say any of those guys for the most part. Quadrant and Ascend have proven that they can compete with NA. I don't really feel like in H5 like that was ever necessarily said, you know, like where EU could take number one at a tournament or beat a top 4 team. So yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And just FYI, yes, we do have candy out, people. We have, my parents are actually staying with us for a couple more days until they go off on their journeys. And
World
they
travelers.
are up there doing the trick-or-treating for us. We bought a massive basket of candy yesterday because I'm extra and I want to make sure all the kids have something. It's like my worst nightmare for a kid to be all dressed up, knock on the door and we're out of candy. I'd be devastated. I'd be giving out bread at that point. I'd be giving out bread. Anything in the fridge, I'll be like, look, it's something that you're missing at home that you want, anything low on ketchup, what you low on. It'd just be like, yeah, have this.
Fair enough.
So we got a big basket for the kids, for sure. How does it feel to be the only top team with the most consistent roster, like no roster changes? That is actually true, Brad. 7 years, nearly 7 years strong. The longest,
give or take, with Brad going to Call of Duty and stuff like that.
I mean, but this is the thing. When he went to COD, the new title wasn't out. It was kind of like recycled.
I know, but you know what I mean. It's like you say 7 years, and it's like.
But it's true.
No, but true. Like it is, but it isn't, because like
it is.
It's like 5 years with Brad, 7 with Matt and TJ.
But it was like But it's like this is true. But it's it is in history.
100%
consistent. So how does it feel? Ab wants to know, like with no roster changes.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I mean, I think it's been nice to not, like, through my career, I've been really fortunate now with like getting with this group where like just not having to stress about that side of stuff. You know, teaming with people that you enjoy teaming with and you're confident teaming with is just a really, really great feeling, and something that unfortunately not everyone probably gets to say on an everyday basis. I've been able to say that for, 7 years. So, I mean, yeah, just feels good, confident, and like, I don't know any other way to like sum it up, but yeah, I think it's just one of those things that you can't really take for granted to get on a long lasting team. Because like growing up and being on teams that literally never stay together, I think that's where my appreciation for it kind of came from, because it can change, so I don't know. Yeah.
Got my anti, how cool is this, guys? It has my name on it, but it's the anti shine powder. It's totally see-through. This is the magic broadcasting tips and tricks to stop shining. Yeah, I think team changes and teams rosters are always going to be really difficult, because it's just tough, isn't it? Like, you're having to take such a big risk. Like, we see that all season long, trying to get it right, the race to get it right. having trust in your team, or just having team chemistry in general. So I think for your guys' perspective, you guys know each other so well. You know each other in and out. You guys can say what you want to say to each other. I think that's such a big thing for your team as well.
100%.
Yeah, no, 100%. Translucent powder is the best. Captain Kensel, it is incredible. It is my best friend. Captain Kensel wants to know, having a team that long, what is it like? The good, the bad, the ugly, Peach. Lay it out.
I don't know. What's it like to have a team for that long?
Do you get more annoyed with each other? I
think that's life in general. I don't know. It's weird because I think we just know how to speak to each other to where I don't think we really get annoyed per se with each other more. I think the one negative is that we're probably more candid. We don't fear. We've never feared this, but I think even more as years have gone by, we don't necessarily care what we say to each other. Not we're saying anything personal or anything bad, but we're not light in the way we put things, if that makes sense. When it comes to needing to improve on a game type, or a player needs to be doing something better in a certain situation. I guess that's something that's maybe rougher per se, because you just know your teammates are your best friends and no one means anything personal by it, whereas when you're on a new team, everyone tries to really tread carefully, but I think that's also a pro. So I don't know, it's been a really cool experience getting a team of people I consider my best friends for a really long time. So I don't know how to summarize the feeling of it, but yeah, just it's cool to be able to feel confident every day, and you get to win and go through stuff with people that you care about and people that you actually want to be there with. So
yeah, no, very, very true. Is trick or treating? Did I just say is Halloween? Is Halloween as big of a is? Oh, it is. Is Halloween a big deal in the UK? Not like the US, it's not. But it to some standard, yeah. I mean, it's more so kids and then clubbing, and I mean, it's just not as, I just don't think it's as wild as in the US. We just don't go all out on the front of houses, the lawns, and that kind of thing. But I love it here. I think it's so fun. I haven't really decorated at all for Halloween yet in our house. We're just a bit lazy at the moment. We just can't be asked. But when we have kids ourselves,
life's busy.
I'm going all out with the kids. That's it.
Life is just way too busy.
It's gonna be before October hits, it's going to be sat down with the kids with some notes. And I'm like, right, what do you want to be this year? And we can't go back on it because mummy's planning. The whole house will be themed to their costumes. We will get it done. They're going to be the best looking Halloween kids on the block, if not for miles, So we're I'm trying to save that energy for when we have children rather than doing it now. There was another question I saw that I was like, oh, that's good. Where is it?
How long have we been podcasting for? An hour 20, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can go a little bit longer if you're up for it.
Yeah, we can go a little bit longer.
Just FYI, we're not going to be answering any team change questions about Sentinels, just to let you know. Well, while I see this one, with Sen's incredibly high standards, how tough has this year been for you guys?
Yeah, super tough. I mean, we just want to be in every final and winning every tournament that we're competing in. I feel like the start of the year is really rough because you have to almost throw them away, where we had to use a sub, Matt was banned, that whole thing. We win KC, 5-month break, and then Orlando. I still feel I'll just kind of harp on the same thing I said earlier in the podcast, where I feel we at Orlando and Worlds were an unbelievably high caliber team. Our placings just don't necessarily show that because of the teams that we lost to. And that's just the way the year kind of went in terms of seeding and brackets and whatever. At the end of the day, we want to win. So I don't to me, second and sixth is not, or fourth is just no different. You want to be first. So it was tough in regards of I don't think a sixth place is really good for us. It's not our standard or whatever, but if you really look at the look at it under a microscope, obviously I don't think that's where we necessarily were on the year, right? But yeah, it was tough regardless, just because I think losing at Worlds and losing to the number 1 and 2 team and we got 3-0'd. I don't want to say we didn't put up a fight because we had close games, but we didn't put up a fight in terms of like going to game 5 or anything like that. Yeah, it was very difficult because that's just not where we want to be.
Yeah, true. And it's so interesting to see like how, we talk about this sometimes as well, like matchups and who matches up with who better. And it's just it's just very interesting to see like your games are so much closer with Optic than they are with Cloud9.
Yeah.
And matchups really are such a big thing with just like what teams play like and the play styles and how they clash and stuff. So yeah, I know that nothing but first place is good enough for you guys. And honestly, most of our teams this year as well.
Yeah.
They all feel the same way.
Especially C9 when they get momentum too. Like I feel like they just steamroll over people, us very much included. Yeah, that'll be something we have to figure out next year, without question. Because I mean, in reality, we only beat them once. We only beat them at KC. Yeah. Obviously, we beat them twice, but something that we need to figure out with their play style very, very much. And like same thing with Optic. I think they're the best team in the game. I'd say by a good margin. Yes. But definitely feel like we just match up a little bit better with them in terms of the game to game, yeah.
The Nifty Castle asks, what are your biggest hopes and fears for Halo Infinite once the winter update comes out?
Repeat that again. What was what?
What are your hopes and fears once the winter update comes out?
Hopes is that Forge brings people like really back into it. I know I'm really excited for Forge. It's probably the most excited I've been for Halo in a minute because I'm excited to play some mini games with subs and like cool custom games. I'm excited for Octagon and CTF warm-ups and see some new maps. My fear for it is like what someone told me earlier in the stream where there's two big fears, and one of the things someone mentioned earlier in the stream where Tashi said like some of the changes coming are going to be like controversial to pros. That's a little bit disheartening because I feel like we've just been kind of like kicked around all year kind of for the most part. Like love the HCS and love the format that we've had, but like hearing that we're going to like not like some of the changes coming is kind of like, oh Jesus, like what's about to happen. And then the other thing that I'm worried about is that they're not going to be able to fix the servers before Christmas because I think that they realistically have like a month to fix the servers, and then at the end of the day they're going to have like holiday break and all that stuff to where realistically like I would just chalk up the month of December as a whole in terms of the servers getting fixed. So yeah, that's a concern. Two concerns.
Yeah. I think understandably so. I can't comment on the concerns and stuff, but I definitely understand those. Monty Q asks,
Nifty Castle, thank you for the sub. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. What would you like to improve with your own game? That's quite an interesting one. What do you want to improve on? Like individually, is there anything that right now that you feel, I know, man, you're killing it?
I mean, there's like micro stuff that I need to improve on. We have like a to-do list in the chat of stuff I need to work on for next year. Being better with every weapon, even though like I'm already good with every weapon, but like getting better with every weapon is always going to be something. I like to be able to go back to like being, I feel like a more lead communicator. I don't think I communicated as well as previous years, but I think that's just what we needed, if that makes sense. Like I think like between how all of us were communicating, I think if I would have like spoken up more, I think that we would be more confused than what I inevitably did this year, if that makes any sense. So I hope by next year I can kind of go back to doing what I'm a little bit more comfortable with in terms of the communication side. I don't know if that fully makes sense because you guys don't hear our comms. But yeah, like we just like we're having a big issue in this game on like what we want to do and what we want to accomplish. So like I kind of like took a step back to let other people speak up in order to try to help us get on the same page. So and I just don't know, like it didn't necessarily go great doing that this year. So probably heading into practice for year 2, I'm gonna try to start speaking up and just like even if it's just the tiny bit more.
Yeah, I gotta say I agree with that. I think just because I think the team right now just needs one path to follow, and it needs to be fully trusted, like the game plan. Just stick to something, trust in that thing. If you will commit to it, you'll also scale that, 9 times out of 10, it's going to work out for you guys. So yeah, definitely be watching out for that one as well. How did we meet? babe?
I didn't know if you want me to answer it or you to answer it.
We could both answer it.
Well, we met at 2018 Worlds. That was the first time it was the first time we had spoken like on the phone for like a pre-interview kind of thing. But then Worlds 2018 Worlds on like the Friday afternoon was the first time that we ever actually met. Yeah.
So for all those pros out there in any esport who don't want to do interviews, you might be meeting your wife or your husband. Just saying.
It's true.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, PJ wasn't so keen on interviews before that, but my God, changed his life.
Yeah, shout out to my team for forcing me to do every interview before 2019, basically.
Yeah, but I interviewed him. We had a fantastic interview, 2018, and then we were friends for a while. We gamed together a bit, did a couple more interviews. Yeah. So
Mike,
cool.
Don't start this, pal. Don't start this.
Yeah, no, we were friends. I think the last thing I said to him was on Sunday. I put my arm around you because we had a great interview. And I said, "Hey, interview Bay."
You did.
He went bright red.
Yep.
And I had Jenna in a van in front of us, like just going. And I said something to you like, "Hey, if you ever find yourself in London, let me know and I'll show you around." And I went to bed.
I was ready to book the next flight to London.
Yeah, you said to the girls like, "Well, I guess I'm going to London."
Yep. 100%.
Verb, honestly, like it wasn't even.
My posture just gets worse as I sit here. My posture I literally sit up and then I just keep sliding down. I can't help it.
It's all right. You can slide down. You can chill. This is off-duty podcast now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, it wasn't really like a shoot your shot type of moment. It was just like a genuine, like natural evolving of relationship from like. Not really colleagues, but just like friends, realizing it was something more. It really, when I tell you it was the most gentle, natural shift. Right? There's almost like not even like a line where it's like, oh, we're now this.
It's just something that happened over time,
gradual.
wasn't it? Like,
it really was. It was like, oh, I'm in love with you. Yeah. I have been for a bit. Cool. Like that kind of thing. It was very natural and both very at the same time mutual. So yeah, it was cute. We used to play Fortnite and throw love hearts at one another. Remember, like
I would drop lot ammo like anytime she needed. You guys, have you seen the meme of like when someone it would just be like, I would say she needed something. I'm like, yeah, here you go.
Here you go. It's just delivery boy. Just here you are, and then a quick heart. And I was like, oh, I love him. He's the best. I've lost my place on where we were. Hold on. We've got one here. In other sports, when you have success over time with a squad and team, you eventually have the risk of losing the hunger to win. Is that something that has worried you? That's a very good question.
Yeah, in some capacity. Like, I think that the hard part with this game is everyone not necessarily enjoying the game the same way. I think when H5 came out, you gotta remember it's 2016, so 6 years ago, right? Everyone like loved H5 when it came out, and there was this big desire to win because one, that's what we wanted, and then two, like back then it was like if you didn't win tournaments, you just weren't making anything. Your career was just a hobby, right? Nowadays esports is very different, where the salaries are very, very high and everyone's treated overall very well, obviously, and the prize pools are all really good and really ridiculous. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a concern and something that's crossed my mind. I think we do a good job of navigating it. I don't think we necessarily fall victim to the non-motivated factor or non-motivation side of it, but yeah, like people get older, the love for the game slips away somewhat, I guess you could say. But like I said, I think we navigated pretty well.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I think passion has a lot to do, like you said, love of the game.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I did miss a question, and it was from Ikodo, who said, LVP, how do you prepare before an HCS event for casting? I do a lot of homework, a lot of research, but the homework is kind of done throughout the time we have leading up to the event, like having to watch scrims sometimes, We talk a lot about stuff and go through a lot of things. Like, it's great to have my own personal expert on hand that I can go to about stuff, and look at his little face. And he just answers questions for me, and we just talk through stuff. And so I know if I'm like, on the right track with certain things. And I have, a few weeks before, I put everything that I've been doing and listening to and talking about or want to talk about into a big document. I have many calls and meetings with our producers to talk about overarching storylines and where we want to go, and if things change quickly, is like where we want to change it to. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to create what is the show. And yeah, because like part of my job is obviously having to know what the hell I'm doing and talking about, and choosing what is the right things to talk about with the lads who I get on the desk. But another big part of it is just keeping the show flowing, the organization, the timing, the presentation of sponsors. So there's a lot of moving parts that I have to prepare for. But a lot of it, unfortunately, is done on the fly. So a lot of it I can't really prepare for. So it's just, I think it's just making sure I still love what I do half the time, because if I didn't, I don't think I'd be good at it. But that's kind of what I kind of focus on before an event as well. We got Toast asking, did we both enjoy Seattle after Worlds was over? I did, because I'm with you, but I enjoy anything that I do with you.
Same.
So any traveling and stuff, like I always have a blast. But karaoke was fun.
Seattle is underwhelming.
Yeah.
I just didn't love the area. I didn't like, I've talked about my stream. I don't want to go.
Food was good.
The food was very good. The area we were in wasn't fantastic. It's just sad. I don't know. I don't mean it in a way of like, I'm not trying to kick people while they're down in life, but it was very, it's just rough when you're in an area that like you don't feel comfortable like walking the streets in. Yeah, like had a good time. Like after Seattle, we stayed extra days. Like Lot said, like got to do fun stuff, go to good, nice dinners with people that we don't like. You go to events and like you see people, but it's funny because you see them, but you don't get to like really interact that much. Like you're just working, right? So it's fun to get to like actually hang out with people that we really love. Yeah,
for sure. Verb, yes, I have had to deal with some male colleagues crossing the line. Some of those male colleagues are no longer in the broadcasting lineup. Let's just say that. But yeah, quite a few actually in my time in many years in many different ways. But you just handle it with grace. Do I know how to get A-Cheese? Do I know how to get in touch with a production company that hosts HCS? I want to be a filmmaker, but I figured broadcasting would be a good start. It's Esport Engine. I believe Esport Engine has a contact on their website, but I'm pretty sure they're always up for people who want to do something in terms of broadcast. So check them out. Esport Engine EE. Youngs, Peter says, what would you say separated Optic from the other teams in the end of the season?
I think they just like...
I know what I would think about it.
Yeah, I think they just really mastered how to play the game the correct way. I don't think the game is super complicated, but I think they just had a game plan and overall had a lot of trust with each other and just were able to do everything at the right times. Yeah, I mean, you could just see it from weapon control to spacing to everything. They did it the best. So I think that's really where they separated themselves from everyone, is just getting on the same page and all being very versatile and being able to just play at a high level consistently.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. They play very simple Halo and they execute it really, really well. And I think it comes down to their teamwork, which is solid, which is fundamentally built on trust. If one person makes a call, they all go for it and there's no question. And it's just all four, I think, being invested into that one moment. And it just works so well. It really does.
Yeah.
Picking up every single weapon in the game as well. If you want to take Optic down, you're going to have to race for the sandbox because they always have it. And it's really, really powerful.
Yes, they do.
They're fantastic. They're really, really good. Verb asks, how do you weigh starting a family and continuing to excel in your career? That's some deep shit.
Verb always asks some tough questions.
He does. He likes to put the pressure on. I think for me, I mean, we both can answer that. I think for me, it's when you're ready to change your life. isn't it? Because I think starting a family, it's not just about your career anymore. It's genuinely about lifestyle.
Yeah.
Changes your whole lifestyle. And that's what, we've seen that firsthand with your sisters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, secondhand, I guess. But,
yeah,
it's like your whole life turns upside down. It's no longer about you and what you're doing. It's about your children, your child. So it's when we're ready to take that step, isn't it? Like knowing that we'll be able to do certain things. Obviously, life's not over, so to speak, but it's being ready to do the juggle, being ready to put in 10 times more work than we do now, because you're doing something else completely, and that's taking 90% of your attention and dedication, and that extra 10% that you have left over, it's like you got to go 120% in your career.
Yeah.
So it's just like when we're ready to do that juggle and that balance. And that's really it. I would say for me.
Yeah,
I don't know if you feel the same
I
way.
would say the exact same. Just it's just a lifestyle shift, and just figuring out when the right time is overall. It's just like you said. It's a lot of, I don't want to say like time commitment, but like it's just being honest about when it's time and when you're ready, and just figuring out when the right time is to be able to have that shift of focus and kind of be ready for the next chapter, so to say. But
yeah, no, definitely. Deedle, you're very sweet. I appreciate the gas. That is very, very nice of you. Zeno wants to know, when can I get a Lottie VOD review? You gotta pay extra for that, Zeno. That one's my price is pretty high on the LVP VOD review.
It's true.
Because I'll do it in my announcer voice too.
You're gonna get actual offers now for you to critique like in like a full presentation style.
The Nifty Castle says, LVP, what are some of the bells and whistles or additions to production that you'd love to see for the HCS broadcast? Anything you wish there was more? Oh my god, so much. I think my main one that I would love if I could like have like, the priority is a telestrator. Oh my gosh. Being able to like just choose one thing after watching a series and coming back to the desk and being like, here is the clip, slow down in like, perfect render, and being able to get my analyst to draw over it and show like what was, and break it down. And it doesn't have to be every single time, but if there was something that is so good and it was impressive to watch and it's like, hey, this is what separated these two teams, look how good this is, that would be amazing. To have a telestrator to do that, like other traditional sports, like they do have in other esports too, would be massive. Like it would be so sick, so sick. And I don't think you need to like, push the hell out of it where it's like, why are we analyzing something that's bang average? It would be like moments that really would be like, hey, this would increase the understanding and knowledge of the game if we could just show how great this was. So yeah, that would be sick for sure. But there's lots of other things I would love. There's lots of other things. Favorite alcoholic drinks. Mine is honestly, mine's like it depends on my mood, but I have two. My main one is Disaronno and cranberry. Tastes like it tastes like a cherry bakewell tart. If you guys have had that in the UK before, cherry bakewell tart, Disaronno and cranberry, absolutely lights out. We got King J on it. It's one of his favorites now. He loves it.
Yeah.
And then my other favorite, depending on like how cozy we're getting, but usually around winter time. So now we'll probably have to get a bottle at some point, is Bailey's, and it's what we named our dog after. What about you, babe? You're a whiskey boy.
Yeah, I don't really have one per se. I'd say like my go-to for the most part is some kind of whiskey. Like just if I'm out dinner or something like that. But I don't really have one. I kind of like, I love cranberry and Disaronno like a lot, but don't really have one. It's the same thing with like food. I think you'd probably say that. I mean, you could tell me if you would say this about me. I'm not very picky. Like I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I'd try most things. I like every kind of food. I like every kind of drink. So definitely more of a whiskey, but that's more of like it's not even necessarily like a favorite. It's more of just like a safety thing. Like I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but it's like I just know if I get this, it's gonna be good or be like enjoyable, compared to like sometimes like you see stuff on a menu and you order it and it's like $15 and you just are like, no, like never, $15-20, like never again, so Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I like whiskey. Whiskey's alright.
Huh?
I like whiskey.
Yeah, you drink. You have it.
Whiskey's alright. I was just reading everyone saying LVP voice pack.
That'd be so sick. I said that before the game came out. Like a talent and like player voice pack. That'd be so sick.
Imagine I was like, bloody hell, Spartan, you're nasty with that sniper. People are like, oh my god.
You got like a triple, and you say that.
Yeah.
Be cool. We should wrap it up, babes.
I know.
2 hour first episode back is good.
This is
in my
the thing
opinion.
with the live.
I know you could just go forever.
It's just fun, isn't it?
I know it is fun.
Oh, I'll answer this one quickly. LVP is a better golfer, PJ or Jay? PJ is technically the better golfer, to be honest. But Jay's getting up there. He's got one hell of a drive on him, like a 300-yard drive when he connects it.
Clip it and ship it.
I mean, if I had said Jay, I mean, I could be on the end of a divorce. So it's like, you know, there's also a couple of things. But yeah, what an incredible way to come back to the podcast. It was so fun.
It was fun.
I could literally do this for the rest of the night.
We'll do another one. We'll do another one at some point.
We'll definitely. Yeah, I think maybe we'll try and do like one live every month or something.
Yeah, it'd be
or
fun.
Every couple of months.
Something like that.
That'd be
cool.
kind of fun. But we're definitely going to try and be a lot more consistent with the podcast. I think we're not going to make any promises as to the day. We're just going to try and get one out every week or every 2 weeks. I think that's just going to be our thing, you know, because
at least for like a little bit. I think like I literally love doing the podcast, so I would love to just try to be more consistent with it to where maybe we can eventually like right now it's hard, in my opinion at least, it's hard to justify being unbelievably consistent with it when we have so many other obligations. But maybe at some point, if it continues to go well with your guys' support, we'll be able to like add it to the list of like like when I say obligations, I mean like in terms of like the best way, obviously. But yeah, we can add it to the list of things like, okay, we have to get this done because XYZ, because we love doing it, but obviously just life is busy and other stuff gets in the way. But maybe one day we'll be able to add it to the list of things that we really, really, really have to do.
Yeah, because we really enjoy it. Like I do. It's very fulfilling. I think doing this, and it's just nice for us to be able, you know, to actually share what we do together, like, and actually just do something together, considering we're in the same industry and in the same, you know, workspace. So it is really nice. I find it extremely fulfilling and rewarding getting to talk to you about everything.
Same. Love it. The best. Literally love it.
Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. If you guys did miss, you know, if you are only tuning into portions or, you know, you can't stay for the live part, this VOD will be going up on the 2 Times the Grind YouTube channel. I think, yep, here it is right here. If you do want to subscribe to the YouTube channel and put notifications on so you don't miss an episode when they do come out randomly, then you can do that as well. But we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to do my sign off as usual.
Gotta rate the coffee.
Oh, gosh.
10 out of 10. I'll be the first to say it. 10 out of 10.
Here we go.
We'll have again.
I will say that this is probably for me a 9.7. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was absolutely delicious. I definitely tasted the chocolatey notes in it. I didn't really taste so much the red grape and blueberry, but I think that's because we added a dairy in there.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely delish. So do check them out. We will have some stuff in the description on the YouTube channel, and in, of course, Spotify and iTunes. But this is Ghost Rider, so perfect for Halloween. Beautiful packaging. Can't go wrong with it. But absolutely gorgeous stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love all of you very much. And thank you for all of your questions and for chatting away to us. And as always, we'll catch you in the next episode. And stay on the grind.
Peace. Later, guys.